perfect-ish. I can make it work. I was about to say right before we started recording, I found the art station for the gentleman that worked on the CGI for the Prophets from the Halo show. And guess what he said in his own comments about working on the Halo show?
He says, like it wasn't good.
He said, well, okay. He had nothing but positive things to say about the experience of working on the CGI for the Prophets, which, to the show's credit, like, the Prophets look insanely good in that show. Like, it looks like movie studio quality because they blended CGI with practical.
Yeah.
Like, but he says at the end of this, I've been watching the show, and I've been watching the show as something more Halo inspired, and the show's been more enjoyable to watch that way.
Oh god. Yeah, the fact that people even making it weren't completely sold on it.
Yeah, they kind of like, they got it. They knew it was kind of like a disaster what they were making.
Oh, that's a damn shame. Well, look, I mean, credit to that bloke for doing such a good job on those Prophets. Because yeah, the blend of CGI and practical does look really impressive. I remember thinking that, but
yeah, it's like in service of something not, fitting to the Halo name, but man, they look really good.
Yeah, they do. They're probably the best looking things about that show, to be honest.
As far as like the CGI goes, the most convincing.
Yeah, you compare them to like the CGI big old blobs for like, the elites and the grunts and the brutes whenever we rarely see them, and it's leagues and miles better. So
I thought they all looked fairly decent. At least the grunts, they kind of lacked color, but that was like a general, thing that the show was doing. The Covenant's key color is brown and dirty and rusty.
Yeah, I think there felt like there was a bit of a drop off in the terms of quality for the CGI for season 2 at least. Like there's that one fight in episode 4 or 3, I think it is, the big reach fight where the Covenant finally show themselves. And Chief hasn't got his armor.
Before you say it, was it when Chief threw the cloak delete through the glass and they had a fist fight?
Yeah, okay. God, it looked so like it's one of those things where, like, as someone who works in like the field of video editing and stuff, and like I've worked on short films and whatever else, had to help with a little bit of like visual effects stuff. I'm no expert in the area, but I just like the lighting on that Elite just looked so out of place from the rest of the scene it was in, and it was almost like they hadn't matched. Or like they hadn't done the color correction on the CGI, like add in until later or something. They didn't do it all at once. And so it was like a couple of stops in terms of exposure. It was exposed slightly brighter than the rest of the scene and it looked more desaturated. It was just really weird. And like, I'm sure if I was watching it at like 720p, on a YouTube video, I probably wouldn't have noticed it. But because I was watching it on my TV in 4K or whatever, I was like, oh God, this looks really bad. Yeah, there was no weight to the animations or the hits or anything. It just, like, I don't know, it just looked really weird.
He didn't look like he was in sync with the background. Like, I know that it wasn't actually, because it was supposed to be one long take. When Chief tackles the cloak delete, they fall through the glass. The camera is kind of like crawling along the floor over to the Elite. He gets up, the camera orbits around him, we change position. Like, it's supposed to be this impressive one long take fight scene, like fist to fist, but you can see where the cuts are because it's clearly not shot as one long take. They had a bunch of different, I'm not sure what the term is with CGI plates, I think it is.
Yeah, I think,
You can see that they've stitched a bunch of shots together, and you can tell because the camera will do an aggressive swing in a direction, and there will be a lot of motion blur to hide the fact that it's... but that Elite, like, you can see him sliding around. He almost looks like he's been photoshopped in, because he's just a couple frames behind what the camera is doing.
Yeah,
It's specifically when he gets up after initially being thrown through the glass. You can kind of see him like shimmering around, sliding around on the floor because he's just a couple frames out of sync with the camera shakes. Yeah, and like you said, it looks like the lighting wasn't... Like, he needed, like, a couple more passes and probably, like, a layer of, like, smoke or something in front of him just to blend him into the scene properly. But it did look, like, unfinished, like it wasn't quite ready.
Yeah, and, like, that's the benefit of... I mean, I glaze it all the time, but Forward Unto Dawn and the reveal of the elites in that looks so much better because it's shrouded in darkness. You've got... like a lot of reflective surfaces in that scene too, where it's walking through the locker rooms of the academy, because you've got like the water or something and there's smoke splashing around, so it does a better job at making it feel as though it's actually in the environment there.
You've Forward Unto Dawn for the audience, like that was not like at the same scale of the Halo show. That was cheapy, like, short movie made to promote Halo 4 with like a third, if even that, of the budget.
Like
and
$10 million in total for that. Yeah.
They were using like the Halo 4 assets, I think, for the Covenant creatures, and they looked like atrocious because of that, so they have to hide them in shadow constantly. And because they're doing all these like filmic techniques, like hiding them just out of frame using depth of field, they look really real.
Yeah it's obviously, again, like you said, there is not really much of a comparison because the Covenant have a much larger presence in the TV show than they do in Forward Unto Dawn, but it's how they make it work that I think is really impressive, and it's a credit to the filmmakers behind that one as well, because they could have looked awful like they did in Nightfall, for example, the follow-up that they did, where they're shot in broad daylight and they use similar kind of assets to Halo 4 and 5 and look really bad, but they don't, and it works really well in that setting. So yeah, just something to consider for anyone else who maybe one day wants to consider trying to do another Halo live-action adaptation and wants to use the Covenant for something.
Forward Unto Dawn is a genuinely fun little... Like, it's good as, like, a Halo tie-in, and it's also just kind of good as a self-contained story in the Halo universe. Yeah,
I love it. I think it's just... being able to see the Halo universe from the perspective of, of Marines in the academy, is something that I don't really think we'd ever seen before. And making sure that Chief is not the protagonist, he's not the person that we're following. Instead, he rocks up at the end of the story and gets this big heroic moment as he's introduced and, saves the lives of everyone else. That works so much better, I think, as a concept that could be translated to a longer form TV show, as opposed to what the actual TV show did. Because, Chief is, you can humanize him, and I think it can work to an extent, but trying to get milk a whole series out of the guy it's bound to cause problems, which, it inevitably did. Following human characters is a much better idea.
I recently read to my wife the Fall of Reach book. We haven't quite finished it, but we're only like maybe 12 pages away. And something that I guess I never realized was that in humanizing Master Chief, like regarding Halo 4, Halo 5, and to an extent Halo Infinite, Chief isn't as like emotionally unstable as the Reclaimer saga made him seem. Like, one of the key points of the Fall of Reach book is that Chief, he doesn't have a lot of time when he's first abducted to realize that he's been abducted and, turned into a Spartan as a kid, because every day there's a lot of stuff happening. Like, he's being woken up at the crack of dawn. He's having to do, like, mile-long runs, and then they get, like, 10 minutes to eat, and then it's, like, more exercise. And he just never has a chance to rest or have a moment to himself, which is intentional in the Spartan program. It's to kind of, like, the kids have no time to cry. And as years go on, he eventually just kind of like, he does find moments to himself because so much time has passed and he's doing so good in his training. And by then he's realized that he's come to terms with what happened to him subconsciously. And he's like not mad about it. Like, it is what it is. And due to his years of training, he's been molded into a man who finds peace through planning, strategizing, and then executing and completing those plans. Like, he's past it. He's moved on. Chief is fine. It's terrible what happened to him, but he's not going to suddenly start melting down in his 50s after, like, decades of military service about what happened to him. Like, it is what it is.
That is a beautiful way of summing it up, actually. I think that is very much on point. And again, that's probably the TV show's biggest fault, is that it's by having the Spartans' memories wiped, I think was like the idea that they had of, Halsey abducting them. It does do them a bit of a disservice in some ways, because like you said, they have just gotten over it. It's part of it. Basically, the Spartans were the original people to say it is what it is and just move on with their lives. Like they have a purpose, and that purpose is to defend humanity, whatever the cost, or whatever they say.
Yeah, whatever
right?
the cost.
Yeah, and they in some weird way kind of find solace in that. Like that's just what they do.
Yeah, it's just what their life is. Like they. Oh God, there were a lot of good chapters in that Fall of Reach book about it. So yeah, like that Halo show, the whole memory wipe thing, I assume the reason that they went that route was probably because they thought that it would make for compelling drama.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Which is, a Paramount Plus staple. Is all of our shows have to have a bunch of reasons for people to get into fights and argue with each other instead of working together as a team against a common foe.
Yeah, and I think that's because that's in many ways like the because when you look at the Spartan program on paper, right, the idea of Halsey coming in and abducting a whole bunch of 6-year-olds and training them into soldiers, and putting them through the worst kind of regimented life, stripping them of their childhood innocence, augmenting their bodies and putting them through all kinds of obscene experiments. Like, it's awful stuff. Don't get me wrong. It's awful. But at the same time, it's the fact that the gold timeline does not draw any attention to that at all. It doesn't try and dramatize it. It's just like, yep, this is a fact of what's happening in the situation.
The gold timeline, is that what we're calling the main canon?
Well, that's what I call it.
Okay,
because
okay, we'll do it. Gold timeline,
as opposed to, because they call the TV show the silver timeline. So it's like
because it was on the silver screen.
Yes, and there was Silver Team, of course. So, I lost my train of thought.
Should be the bronze timeline.
Yeah, well, there should be
or copper, copper timeline, tinfoil timeline,
the aluminium timeline. Yes, but just crumples. You use it to bake potatoes in. Like that's what it's good for.
I'm just picturing like the Halo logo, like, but it's like made out of like it's like a children's tinfoil like project.
Oh man. Yeah, it's but yeah, it just doesn't work, and the way that they try and inject that extra drama into it, into a subject matter that doesn't really need it. Like, it's just on its own, it's an awful enough concept, and if you stop and you think about it, it's like, oh yeah, wow, this is messed up. It's like an extra deeper layer of the Halo story that you don't always consider on the surface.
More interesting conversations have been generated within the Halo community about the fact that Chief is just muted to what happened to him. That he's just got nothing, no opinions. Yeah. Like, more people discuss that, how kind of like, out of universe, how weird of a character trait that is, versus like the Halo show where they have Chief like threatening to punch Halsey's head off and like leaping through the air like a gorilla.
Oh man, yeah, that's a great freeze frame. That
a lot of good memes came out of that.
Yeah.
A lot of really good memes came out of that. That gif of him like screaming and then just passing out. like me hitting the pillow.
Yeah, or like his eyes rolled back into his head. He's just passed out on the floor. Like it's so
a lot of really good memes out of it.
Yeah, definitely. Anyway, so welcome back to episode 3 of Warthog Radio.
First time we tried recording this, it was a bit of a meandering disaster. Thankfully, you were open to us doing a re-record, and honestly, this is a much, much better start.
Yeah, I think so. And we were both a little bit off that day. I think I was still somewhat recovering from being sick for about a week. I hadn't slept particularly well the night before. So yeah, we're giving it another crack, and yeah, so far so good. I'm liking this. Any chance to shit on the Halo TV show?
Feeling good, no side effects, no black flood veins on the side of your face.
No, thankfully not. No, like protruding growths or anything like that. Just, yeah.
No spontaneous tentacles or like claws.
No. It's just a bit of a cold, but nothing that a bit of honey and lemon and some tea and some old episodes of Doctor Who can't fix. So I'm back on station.
Perfect. There's not been like a lot of Halo stuff within Halo Infinite. I mean, there was like the launch of like Blue Team, which we could probably talk about, but do you want to get started with Rebs Gaming and his report?
Yes, there was a couple of interesting sort of points that he's cultivated quite a following in terms of what information he's leaked, quote unquote. And there's some interesting varieties of sources that seem as though they could be internal within Microsoft and Halo Studios. And he's pulled together quite a large report talking about what was initially going to be the plan for Halo Infinite's launch. And this
is the Chris Lee Halo Infinite.
Yes, yeah. Before Joe Staten was kind of dropped in to steer the ship, Chris Lee was initially there as the sort of creative director and lead for Infinite. And
Not
it sounds
sort
like,
of, most definitely the creative
most
director.
Definitely, yeah.
This was
and he had
the original idea and hopes for the game.
Yeah, he had some very ambitious plans that I think were... look, on paper they sounded good, but I think that there was all kinds of technical problems that cropped up later that just made it impossible. So Rebs Gaming leaked a number of these various points that I think some of us were already aware of. They had kind of trickled their way through the grapevine through various sources, or they were just things that we kind of got a feeling and an impression of not long after Halo Infinite launched. But the big sort of main points, the first of which was that Infinite's multiplayer was planned to release in 2019 before the campaign. Which,
in like an early access form.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
Yeah. Basically, they wanted it to sort of bring people together through positive word of mouth. Again, act as like an early access kind of game. And there was a very big emphasis on whatever it is you do in the multiplayer was in some way going to carry forward into the future. They were going to have like I guess, more of an emphasis on the live service kind of story throughout the course of its seasons, maybe. I'm not sure exactly what they were getting at with that. But just really crazy that they were confident in wanting to release it that early.
Yeah, I guess it depends on what that might have been. Like, as far as like an early, what is early to them would have just been the arena stuff, because Rebs mentioned that later on they had ideas for like Warzone from Halo 5 returning, as well as a battle royale. So it makes it seem as if like the early period was just going to be this kind of like arena thing, and then it would be expanded as time went on. So basically like a more organized version of the incomplete launch.
Yeah, pretty much. Because I think that, Infinite's launch did touch on some of those points as well. Like it launched with the arena sort of base mode, and you had big team battle and a couple of others. For the most part, it was pretty bare bones though. And I guess there was always the promise of more stuff coming for it, but it just never really eventuated. So yeah,
Yeah, or like everything
weird
was
how-
sort of in a compromised state.
Yeah. And so it's weird how, like, that did sort of still end up happening, but because it took them 6 months to get a new season out of the game, people just kind of lost interest.
Well, and that's so the only thing that I can think of as kind of like a parallel is like there's other games that release on Steam in like early access from AAA studios or AA. I'm not sure what you would call them. I think of like Tripwire Interactive when they released Killing Floor 2. That game was early access for a whole year. It released super bare bones. And, like, it was just, hey, like, Killing Floor 2 is now playable. You can buy it now in early access, and it'll be incomplete. And in a year, we might be done with it. And sure enough, in a year, they were done with it. And they had their 1.0 launch. And I think because they were so, like, upfront about the fact, literally early access, people were fine with it. Where with Halo Infinite, it was, like... there was a lot of like pretending that it was the official launch of the game when you could tell that like this thing was rushed out the door, that they were up to the minute.
Yeah, and I don't know how well the early access sort of formula works for Halo because, you know, historically we've just had Halo has always been a value for money package, right? You get so much with each game, regardless of whether or not it was free to play. I think that people were always bound to be disappointed by the lack of content at launch. So I think it might just have been a bit of a miscalculation on Microsoft and 343's part to think that people in the first place were going to be accepting of that. Maybe they would have if the cadence and the release time or the release schedule of content was a bit more consistent throughout that first year. But
in 2019,
yeah,
like 4v4 stuff, I'm not, because the next year, immediately the next year, would have been Warzone. Like end of 2019 was the release of Modern Warfare 2019, and that had that like ground war mode with a ton of players.
Goated game mode. I love ground war and Modern Warfare.
Yeah, I don't think that people would have been like, Call of Duty. I'm gonna go capture the flag from 4 enemy players.
Yeah, I think if there was ever a year that a Halo game should not have released, it probably shouldn't have been 2019.
Yeah.
Now that you mentioned Modern Warfare, because that game, it did numbers. It did real good numbers. It bumped those rookie numbers up.
Yeah, that was. Yeah, they were not going to win that one.
No, I mean, I don't think it's necessarily the best Call of Duty game, but it was like the turning point for the series, and
it rebooted the series after like a slump.
Yeah, Halo releasing alongside that, it would have gotten crushed. So releasing it a couple years later, probably a good call in hindsight.
But then, you know, the issue is releasing it a couple years later, and it was clearly not ready.
Yeah.
Like, I think even with an early access tagline, the problem is, you know, pretty evident. When you just boot up the UI and you can feel under the hood the UI struggling to keep everything connected.
Yeah, it's just like one of those.
We talked about
feelings.
bones. We talked about bones and skeletons and
calcium deficiency.
Calcium. Yeah, you could feel that Halo Infinite. There was some calcium deficiency with the UI. Like something was rotting under the hood.
Yeah. It's
that
just
I
like
don't
one of those
think
things,
live service could fix.
Yeah, it was just like one of those things that, like, as you know, as experienced veterans of the Halo series, some might say, you just feel it, like, you know that there's something off, and it's hard to like put into words, but yeah, there was something under the hood that was like some bird got scooped up, and it was it was not having a fun time in there. Yeah. Not great.
It's hard because like so many folks have like, hey, did you know that like new people are born every day? And then they have birthdays, and then gradually after a couple of those birthdays, they begin to age into their early teens, and then they start playing games. But there's like new people that are getting into the Halo franchise, and games like Halo 5, Halo Infinite, the Master Chief Collection, those are their first experiences with Halo. For us who played Halo during Bungie's reign on it, like something that was just so reliably consistent about Bungie is that their main menus were it was all style and usability. Like everything was hyper responsive, very stylish and easy to navigate. And in the transition to 343 Industries, like in Halo 5, MCC and Halo Infinite, it does not feel nearly as... I would not trust the Halo Infinite UI with my life.
Yeah, it'd probably leave you hanging and let you go after a little while from lag or something. Yeah, it's not good. It doesn't feel polished, and it doesn't have a lot of charm. I think we've talked about that previously, but it's just ugh.
Yeah, and that is like something that a lot of folks in the studio are aware of, and it doesn't seem like it's, anybody at 343 now Halo Studios that they're deluding themselves into thinking that they make great UIs. It seems like everybody kind of knows that when it comes to their UI design, UX design, and the resources that go into that, it's always below what it should be. Like, it's not for lack of trying. It's definitely, that's the best they could do with the resources and talent that they had available for UI and UX stuff.
Yeah, and it's very much in fitting with, I think, what was slowly starting to become the default menu and style of the time. And, like how it was shown in Call of Duty and Fortnite with your character in the middle and your game modes off to the side and challenges and whatever.
And then you press the bumpers to scroll over to your customization, your inventory, and then the shop.
Yeah. It's all there in the nice, complete package of the main menu. That
looks a bit like
crazy.
A mobile game.
Yeah, just a little bit. Too many comparisons there. But speaking of the, I guess the connections to other popular games like Call of Duty and Fortnite, it also seemed as though there was going to be a greater emphasis on the Spartan Academy and tutorials that were aimed at onboarding new players with, challenges and other stuff. That was, I guess, in some small part aimed to entice and attract sort of newer players, and we do get a bit of that in Infinite still with the Academy and bots and stuff, and a bit of the aim training. What's it called? The armory or something.
Shooting range,
firing
range.
That's the one. Yeah,
something like that. Weapon drills. Yes. There was a little bit of that, but I think they were probably going to put a bit more of an emphasis on it in this hypothetical 2019 release. Yeah, it's the way that they're talking about it in this. Like Rebs showed like a slide that he was able to get access to. I'm not sure if it's public somewhere or if someone directed him to it, but it looked way more ambitious than what. Like it's hard to even call it the Academy in Halo Infinite because that implies that it is something greater, like a firefight or matchmaking. The Academy really is like a couple of weapon drills and then like training against bots, which is a custom game with bots in it.
There's not a lot of quantity or quality there, quite frankly. It's like this weird oddment that you forget about once you get past like level 5 in multiplayer. There's not much there to it.
Yeah. And it seems like it was supposed to be maybe a little bit more ambitious. I don't know if it would have been like a Destiny Tower like thing, because they tried that in Halo 5, and the producers on Halo 5 were very quick to shut them down because that was kind of like a bit too ambitious for 343 as a studio to do.
Yeah, I think.
So I'm not sure if they would have been like, well, maybe this time.
Yeah, again, like that's one of the things that that Bungie was always famous for. If we can't put it in this game, we'll try it in the next. Maybe some of that mentality spilled over to 343, but I would have been interested to see what they had in mind exactly, because I personally don't mind the idea of just walking around this, like this space, bumping into other players, Spartans and stuff. Even
I used to be cynical about it, but it would be cool.
Yeah, I think there would have been an element of fun. And if nothing else, like, it could have been really good for machinima, you know, just having a whole bunch of other Spartans walking around and standing by idly and whatever. It could have been interesting. Maybe have like a little, you know, like wall of fame or something where you can show off your medals.
In real time leaderboard updates.
Oh yeah, that would have been really I'm thinking of almost like a I'm not sure if you've played it, but the latest Outlast games, Outlast Trials, before you jump into a trial or a level, you kind of have this pre-game space with a whole bunch of other players where you can choose to party up with them. You can like play like little board games and stuff with them, like chess, and I think you can arm wrestle and stuff. You can like look through at your own little room where you have trinkets and stuff from previous levels that you've completed and challenges that you've done. Something
interesting.
Something like that could have been, I think, translated over to Halo, but you know, obviously done slightly differently, and maybe with a little less emphasis on the mini game side of things, but it still could have been interesting, like playing against other Spartans to see who can get the most kills in like a firing range game mode with certain weapons. That could have been really fun.
Yeah, like a bit like Call of Duty World War II's.
Yeah, a little bit.
Beach.
Yeah, the what do they call that?
The headquarters.
That was the one. Yeah. I know that everyone was quite critical of that, because you were walking around in third person showing off your cosmetics and opening loot crates, but you take that away...
On the beaches of Normandy?
Yeah. Yeah, bit insensitive in that regard, but if you take that away, that element of it, I think it's an interesting idea that has room for refinement and improvement, especially in Halo's sense.
I think Halo is such a community-driven game inherently. Like, in the final days of Halo Reach... there were so many custom games that were just driven by like those clan communities, like Hangout custom games, clan wars. I don't know if you ever heard about those clan wars during the days of Reach.
Oh yeah. I was involved in one.
Really?
Well, yeah. I did my little. This is some deep lore here. I did my time in a couple of. In a couple of clans.
You're saying you served?
I did.
You
served in a clan that was predominantly on Halo Reach and Halo 4. And I think we did a couple of wars at some point, although I don't think we really made it into like, you know, the big books, right? Like it wasn't like a clan with hundreds of people. I think there was maybe 20 or 30 of us at most.
Okay.
Yeah, but we did some little like some big team battle, like clan war things, and people used to talk shit about each other on like, you know, like the Waypoint forums or like Facebook and stuff.
Oh my god! Holy shit! Halo Facebook groups. Oh my god! You're bringing back memories from when I was a teen.
Yeah.
Oh god, I did the same thing. God, dude, that stuff was fucking awesome. Did you ever partake in a Halo clan raid by any chance? Like the ones that would last weeks?
Oh god. I don't think so. Most of it was just like, okay, we hate you guys. We're going to hop into a custom game of like big team battle or something, and whoever wins best of 3 is like the better clan. You know, that's kind of what we did.
Them's the rules.
Yeah, them's the rules. Like we'd pick out our best 8 players, and they'd go toe to toe with like their best 8. And occasionally people would swap in and out. And like we'd all get together after in theater and like spectate it and like figure out where people went wrong and what they did wrong, and you know, like criticize them and stuff. It was dude, peak, man. It's that
passion. God. I need that passion back. I need to care about those things again.
Yeah. It's been a while.
there was this one guy like early on in my channel's life that I interviewed who was a part of the clans scene in Reach, which was still going at the time, and he said like, so clan raids were essentially like you'd have a base that you'd make in Forge, and that would be where your clan would hang out in a custom game. So,
we did have one of those. Oh god, yeah.
You can't just be in a party and planning in the party. You have to physically go to your Forge map, which is your base, and hang out. And the clan wars were basically like you'd set it up. There were like all sorts of like weird rules and contrivances for how it worked, but it would be like they'd have to get into your base and do something, whether it's push a button or get a thing. And the clan war, the thing about them is like they weren't easy. Like it wasn't balanced, you know? So it was very grueling, and some clan wars would go on for weeks. And I forgot, he said they were so experienced with these clan wars, and they would go on for so long that they knew the exact amount of time before you'd have to reset the game, because like the code would just start breaking down.
Oh god.
And for Halo 5, a lot of the clan war stuff, they had to like redo how they do it, because if I remember right, Halo 5 had like a 5-hour limit on how long a custom game could go for. Because of but like that's how long these raids would last, that they knew how long it would go and so like people would draw, like it would be like, all right fellas, like I need to go to bed or I need to go to school, so they'd leave the raid, and then the new guy who is waking up, you know, after sleeping all night, he takes the spot, and the raid continues into the early morning and into the evening, and people come and go and keep the battles going in custom games.
Wow, I love the sound of that. That is God, that I think that's kind of changed over the years to turn into there's a really popular game mode in the MCC customs browser called Raids, where like people will like log on to these servers and like hold down a base, and you spawn somewhere on Forge World, and it's up to you and the randoms to try and like run in there, get in there, take the base away from all these other guys, and like, you know, hold it down yourselves. That sounds very similar to that. I think that's probably what it's like.
That's probably what it is.
Into. But God, that like the commitment, just like the passion involved in that. It's,
just like loving Halo that much that you're doing that.
The love of the game. God, I miss those days. Yeah,
you know, and
something great about it.
Coincidentally, like a lot of the raid stuff and the clan stuff started to kind of go away around, you know, Halo 4 when they took away elites. So they didn't really have like the inherent rivalry of elite clans versus Spartan clans. And then with Halo 5, like the time limit in the custom games, as well as some of the like, you know, for a while, Halo 5 had a lot of weird arbitrary restrictions for like inviting people to custom games, having open lobbies, and they eventually patched a lot of that stuff in, which is awesome. But you know, Halo 5 didn't have those for a while, and so clans were pretty much dead, and they all had to migrate back to Reach on the Xbox 360 at 30 FPS. That's how dedicated they were to all that stuff. I haven't kept up with them since. I can't imagine that, like, you know, it's Halo Infinite probably has some like awesome tools like 24-player custom games and stuff, but you know, Halo Infinite also has its weird UI restrictions.
Yeah. I think part of it also is just like the social features in the most recent Halo games have been
really lacking.
Yeah, pretty lacking, and so there's not really that room to, I guess, you know, promote those kinds of those conflicts, right, and those rivalries. Like it's just far more uncommon than it was 10 years ago, if not longer. So, it's a bit of a shame, because like that seems like a really niche but dedicated part of the Halo community, and the people who would have participated in those, that like those are the kind of memories that stick with you for forever. You know, like those big scale kind of like clan wars and stuff, and the all, you know, working with all these different people and whatever. It's it's like you see that a lot in games now, like Rust and like DayZ, but the fact that they were able to make that work in something like Halo, despite all the restrictions in place, it's just it's really telling of just how passionate the Halo community is. I love stuff like that. It's awesome.
With Bungie, they knew like the kind of community that they had cultivated, and with leaving Halo Reach as like the final the final game from Bungie to the community that's just front-loaded with all of these like features for the community to find each other and connect with each other and easily share maps and modes and navigate the UIs and stuff. Like, definitely that's something 343, and probably maybe to an extent, we never know how much influence even Microsoft. They were more interested in kind of the direction that gaming was going in, which was more skill-based matchmaking, engagement, optimized algorithms to keep you playing, like less community stuff and more, a hamster in a hamster wheel type of design.
Yeah, there is a little bit of that, and very much keeping people siloed, I think, in their own sort of bubble. Which, it's a shame that's how things are. But I feel like it's starting to swing back the other way. I think that there's been a pretty big push from not just, people within the Halo community, but also you look at a lot of the games that are like exploding in popularity recently, things like party games, stuff like Lethal Company and more recently Repo, which is a lot of fun, where the whole thing, right, is like communication and being able to talk to other people in your games. I think that
I was going to say even games like Fortnite now, like there are some Fortnite things where you just go in and like watch a concert, like no shooting.
Yeah, it's
just
bizarre
community events.
It's bizarre that they're able to make that work, considering the demographic of players that Fortnite particularly caters to. People who are like, Zoomers. We often think they have short attention spans and all they want to do is just jump in and cause chaos. But
yeah, it seems like I've heard somebody describe it as a digital Chuck E. Cheese, where all the kids can hang out after school. And that's spot on.
Yeah, that was like Halo and Call of Duty.
Yeah,
like when
it was our
up.
Chuck E. Cheese.
Yeah, except the Chuck E. Cheese was like party chats on Xbox Live and gun game and shit, and occasionally we'd a
new demo would release on Xbox, and we download it and play it, and it would be terrible.
Yep. Ah, man, good times.
I'm hoping that like 343 or Halo Studios or whatever, like for their next multiplayer projects, after Halo Infinite, the great Infinite experiment, I hope that they take a look at like, your Fortnite creative islands and stuff, your Animal Crossings, Lethal Company. Like, gaming is starting to become more social again.
Yeah, nature is healing, as they would say.
Nature's healing. Like, make the next Halo game a giant Chuck E. Cheese for people to hang out in. It doesn't all have to be, us versus them.
Yeah, I think that's a very good way of putting it. I'm like, just as someone who, God, it sounds bad. Like, I turned 25 in November, and I'm getting older, right? I've got a full-time job. I've got all this other stuff going on in my life and adult responsibilities. I just do not have the effort or the energy to come home and play a video game that is hyper competitive and feels like I'm getting, barred in without the ability to talk and socialize and blow off some steam against other people. Like at work, I have to hold up this very professional visage, right? And when I come home and want to play video games, I just want to let loose a little bit and have some fun and chat with people and shoot the shit. And I used to be able to do that all the time in the old Halo games, and there's friends that I've made on those games that I still talk to today. But now, because there has been such a push to try and stop that, those social interactions from happening, whether it's been directly or inadvertently or whatever, it just makes me far less likely to want to sit back and play a video game. So, yeah, social features, all for them, bring them back. Chuck E. Cheese, let's make it happen. We don't have Chuck E. Cheeses in Australia, but
okay. Well, what would be a good Australian equivalent?
I don't know. The pub.
Okay. Hang on. Wait. I don't think kids are going to the pub after school.
I mean, you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised. Yeah, virtual pub. Let's make it happen.
Yeah, virtual pub. Yeah. So that's Rebs is. A lot of his leaked stuff seemed to paint like a lot more of an ambitious multi-year. Like, it almost seemed like the game would be releasing in chunks. Like Like that's the vibe. Like you start with the soft stuff, the small scale multiplayer early access, then you move on to the Spartan Academy and then the Warzone and Battle Royale Tatanka stuff. And then campaign and then Atriox's reign.
Yeah, so that was very much confirming the suspicion that a lot of us had for story DLC for Infinite. Which like it still bums me out that it didn't happen, but it sounds as though from the brief description that we get of stop Atriox's plan to, his master plan to use the ring, kill his warlords or whatever, and reach the seat of his power in the Bastion, like, it sounds like some really interesting stuff. I have no idea how it would have translated over to that open world, like if they were intending to expand the open world beyond what we got in the final released version of the game to include new areas or what. Yeah, I think that Infinite's campaign could desperately have done with some more stuff to do, some more like updates to keep it fresh, because currently I don't hold it in, well, I mean, look, it's fun, but I don't hold it in particularly high regard, and I don't think it has a lot of replayability. So adding some new stuff to it over the course of a couple of years or something would definitely have been an interesting way to keep people coming back to it and keep them invested.
Yeah, that's it. It's sort of like they sort of did exactly what they said they would, but I don't think it was quite the way they were intending. They described it as being like, imagine like the open world is like the silent cartographer, but on a massive scale. And it does sort of feel like just a giant play space. And the only thing to do in that play space is shoot some guys when you find them. Yeah,
you've got the sort of random boss battles around the map that don't really provide much of a challenge. You can just kind of pick them off with a sniper rifle from like really far away.
Yeah, with an open world game, there's got to be like systems to make sure that you stay in the open world and keep replaying the content.
Yeah,
and there isn't really that in Halo Infinite. It is like you beat it, you conquer it.
Yeah, and that's it. You've finished the fight. Well and truly, that's all it is to it. You can walk around and bump into some random Covenant enemies, but for the most part, there is not much else to do. Once you 100% not even if you 100% it, like there's just a lack of I guess points of interest to some extent, and is
that even what Halo is, though, as a game? Is like another conversation entirely. Like, should Halo have just dropped all pretenses of it not being like a Ubisoft open world and just gone all in on like the Ubisoft tropes?
Yeah.
Would that have served the open world better? Rather than half doing it?
I don't know. I think that there was definitely room for them to do that. I think that you can point to another example like ODST, where in a smaller space, it does work quite well. The jumping between the open sort of hub world and then the chronological missions and stuff, it does work. I just think that it maybe didn't work as well as it could have, partly because the campaign missions in Infinite just feel so... I mean, like the linear missions, they just feel so bland. Most of the time that you're in one of those missions, it's just trekking up and down familiar looking Forerunner corridors at some point underneath the ring, and that's really all there is.
What was like kind of like magical about like the first Combat Evolved, I have reread a lot of reviews from the time when Combat Evolved came out, and it's really interesting to read the things that people think were mind-blowing about the game, which are like norms now. But something that was brought up quite a lot is how they were like, you forget that you're playing a level because you're not inside.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's like point. That. I was like, that's crazy. Like that was kind of like, from the same person who coined, digital Chuck E. Cheese. He also uses the term outdoorador. Like a corridor that's outdoors. It's an outdoorador. Think of like the first level in Halo 3 Sierra 117. That's an outdoorador. Like, you don't notice how linear the level is because you get the freedom of being outside through the art design and environment and stuff.
Yeah, and it's like, despite being outdoors, Bungie do such a good job of like directing you where you need to go that it almost feels like it's so subconscious that it feels like you're the one who's out here doing the exploring, going in these directions. Like, you don't actually need a whole bunch of waypoints and markers telling you where it is, because despite the size of the levels, you get a good idea of what direction you need to go in. Especially in that first level in Halo, everything just feels so instinctive. Like, right, I need to get in the Warthog, I need to drive this way.
Second level.
Yeah.
Second level of Halo.
Yes, well, I mean...
Or you mean the mission called Halo in Halo.
Yeah, the mission called Halo in Halo that takes place on Halo when you discover Halo. Yeah, it's
that is only the first mission to take place on a Halo.
Yes. I've sometimes coined calling that mission Flawless Cowboy, because it's just...
Oh, that's such a much bad... like, calling it Halo, that was a bad... Halo 3 did it right by calling the final level Halo.
Yeah. I think, it all comes full circle, right? It's all circles and shit. But yeah, no, you make a very good point about that and how everything just feels like it's, because it's in such a big open environment, that you don't necessarily realize that you're walking down what is essentially just very big outdoor corridors.
Or sometimes really small, like really, really small outdoor corridors, but they're beautiful and you've got the sky above you. Like Sierra 117, sometimes you forget how narrow your play space is, because to the right of you will be a giant vista, and you can see just the trees as far, and you don't notice that you've only got about, like, maybe, to your left, like 15 meters of playable space.
Yeah. And I think that's probably one of the parts that I think Infinite maybe suffered the most, is that most of its levels are just you're indoors in Forerunner corridors. You're not in
a corridor.
Yeah. There are definitely some examples of it being slightly different. Like, I think of that first mission where you go to retrieve the weapon, and there's like these big chunks of like the Forerunner pillars and stuff, and you can see the cracks in the ring underneath you and whatever.
Yeah, like the underbelly, kind of like the fracture point of the ring. And so you're like, you can see like the stars below you and to the left and right, and you're just like hopping from pillar to pillar, and there's like the lightning strikes.
Yeah, that stuff sticks with me, but everything else in the game's campaign, I genuinely can't think of very many other examples. There is the one where there's like for lack of a better terminology, like the Forerunner pillar factory, where they're like making these pillars in the Halo ring itself.
Oh, yeah.
They're getting like blasted by all this different energy, and you have to like use the grapple hook to go up, like climb up them and stuff. That was interesting too. But again, once you get past that area, it's like, this is the same Forerunner door that I've seen thousands of times before. This is the same kind of corridor with lots of, misty blue lights and smoke and random holograms of things happening in the distance. Like, it got tedious, and that's not what I want a Halo campaign to be. So
do you remember in Halo 2 during Sacred Icon, I think it was? Yeah, it was Sacred Icon, right? Where you're fighting through like hallways, corridors, and then you get in a gondola, and then the massive door opens up, and then you're outside, and it's like snowing, and the Aurora Borealis. Borealis! At this time of year.
Located entirely within this part of Delta Halo. Can I see it?
Yeah, like Bungie was really good. Like Halo 1, they definitely struggled. They didn't have that good balance yet. You think of the library, like you feel like you're trapped in someone's basement for an hour. But with Halo 2, they were getting better at making sure that when you were in a Forerunner heavy level, you had moments where you were out in the sun, or I guess in Halo 2's case, out in the snow.
Yeah, they do that quite a bit actually in Halo 2, because what is it? There's a level after that where you're trekking through a lot of corridors, and then you end up in this outdoor area. There's like a vehicle section. The floods start turning up and whatever. Like they go to the trouble of making sure that there's variety, as opposed to being always on foot all the time through the same or similar corridors. It's and I think they really they figured it out perfectly in Halo 3. I think it's really hard for me to look at a certain mission in Halo 3 and go, yes, I spent all of that game walking through the same corridors, because it's broken up so consistently by big outdoor sections or some other kind of encounter that you don't really notice it. Like the Ark, for example. You kind of start off open area with the ODSTs doing the sniping and stuff. You go through a bit of a vehicle section, then you're back in Forerunner corridors for a bit, and then you're back outside. You fight the Scarab. Like, there's enough variety to keep the whole thing interesting and sort of keep you engaged. I think that's why Halo 3 is my personal favorite.
In Halo Infinite, the only vehicle sequence is the road.
Oh yeah, with the Scorpion tank at the end, which is it's a fun sequence. Like it's good, but it's just takes so long to get there.
Yeah, it's like a glimpse at what could have been if there was a little bit more variety in the linear levels. Because they really did, like, unfortunately, they did use outside means open world.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Yeah, the road is...
The game could have done with more outdoor doors.
Definitely, yeah. And the road is, I think, another example of... that feels like you're really, like, pushing into the final act of the game. It's like a really big event. And in some cases, I feel like it's an
inverse of the Warthog run.
Yeah, exactly. You're running straight into the danger as opposed to, away from it. And just thematically, I think it's a really good sequence. But it's kind of let down by some of the issues with like Infinite's Marine AI. Like, I love the fact that you were going through and you were freeing up a whole bunch of Marines and stuff, but they can't fucking do anything. Like, there's a whole bunch of, like,
they
stray
can't drive
Warthogs.
Vehicles.
Yeah. Like, there's a whole bunch of stray Warthogs and other banished vehicles sitting around that I was thinking the entire time, if there was ever a moment to get some Marines driving vehicles, it would be now. Like, imagine as you're pushing up in the Scorpion tank, you're freeing a whole bunch of Marines and stuff. They start taking on, like, banished Wraiths and Warthogs, and they're pushing up with you to, like, get to the House of Reckoning or whatever it's called. That would have made that sequence so much cooler. Just so much better to be like this... Like, really be the ultimate sort of...
UNSC offensive, finally, after freeing so many Marines throughout the campaign. All of you launch an attack on the heart of Escharum.
Exactly. Like, it would have been a perfect way to bookend that story before the fight with the Harbinger at the end, to, like, really, push forward and make it feel as though, like, this is what the story has been leading to. You as Chief rallying all these people together, saving them, inspiring hope to finally push back against the enemy. And they
you pretty much need to involve the UNSC in the story. The story pretends they're not there.
Yeah, pretty much. It's one of those weird, baffling moments of...
Disconnects.
Yeah, they just... One hand was not talking to the other, and it seemed like an easy win, but they just seemed to miss the mark on it. But
have you noticed? Oh, sorry.
I was just going to say, it's still a fun, like, mission, but it could have been so much better.
Have you ever noticed that in the campaign, when you free the Marines in those, like, missions at launch, they could all die. So what you load up a whole Warthog full of Marines, and then you go to save 5 Marines in one of those, like, firefighty, save Delta Squad or whatever, and all of them could die, including the ones you were trying to save. So everyone is dead, and then you kill the last banished, and the weapon will be like, "Good job, Chief. Those Marines are really going to do some good on this," and they're just, everybody's dead. And in fact, you got more Marines killed in trying to save them. And what they did was, after launch, they patched it so that one Marine is completely immune to damage. So there will always be one surviving Marine. That way it's not just like a pile of bodies and the weapon being like, great job, Chief. They can rest easy now knowing you're here.
Yeah, it's a bit morbid now. It takes on a different context. Yeah. Oh, damn. It's just so
Good
close.
old Halo Infinite.
Yeah, we were on the verge of greatness. We were this close. But yeah, it just didn't quite follow through on some of those ideas. But yeah, that's kind of the rough idea, I guess, or the start of whatever Halo Infinite's 10-year plan was supposed to be.
Something a little bit more abstract, more ambitious, more broken up.
Yeah, yeah. And then
yep.
Oh, sorry, go on. My bad.
It's this delay, man.
Yeah. Delay and
the breaking it up, like year 1 is soft launch for multiplayer, year 2 is campaign, year 3 is big, or whenever is big mode releases and stuff. You would have had even like the Atriox's Reign story thing, which would have added that like warlord system to the campaign.
Yeah, which I'm assuming is probably like a better version of the boss fights that we got in the open world, probably, or like some kind of whatever was left over of some of the other bosses in the game. Like, what was his name? Jaeger with the half jaw elite blade master dude. That guy.
I'm not going to be the guy that unironically calls him his alien name.
Yeah, no, Jägermeister, that's his name. Close enough.
Yeah, Jaeger. There's like people that are like, oh yes, my favorite character is Fel Vadaby. I'm like, shut up. That's his name's the Arbiter. Shut up. You just shut up. The only aliens in Halo that I feel okay with saying their names are the Grunts, the Brutes, and specifically Chaklock. Chaklock the Elite.
Yeah, I mean, look, Chaklock's got my respect, man. He's got a good pad, nice tower.
I couldn't articulate why Chaklock. He just hit.
He just hit different. Yeah.
And it's like the fact that like his cutscene voice is so different from his actual gameplay voice. Have you noticed? I don't know if it's a different voice actor or if it's like a voice filter, but I think it's a different voice in the cutscene.
Well, fun fact, I'm pretty sure that the bloke who voices Chaklock is the same guy who does Nikolai in Call of Duty Zombies.
What?
Yeah, it's Fred oh god, what's his name? Fred Tatasore, I think his name is. He voices Nikolai and Maxis in COD Zombies, and he's also the voice of Chaklock, I think. Let me just double check this. Let me just pull this up.
I'm looking it up too myself. Best known for voicing the Hulk. He was a voice actor for a Brute in Halo 3.
Oh.
Yeah, he's Chaklock. He's Chaklock. Good old Fred Tatasore.
Yeah. So yeah, I know, like he's in plenty of video games and TV shows and stuff. He was in Invincible as well the other day, which I was just watching the series finale of.
Okay.
So yeah, he's in a whole bunch of stuff. He's a really good voice actor. I really like his stuff. But
dude's got a ton of range then, because I did not recognize his voice.
Yeah, no, he's like even just in Call of Duty Zombies, he voices like 3 or 4 different characters, and half of them I didn't even recognize. And yeah, it's just really weird now that you mention it that there is such an inconsistency between how he sounds really for lack of a better word, he sounds really drippy in the cutscenes, and then in actual gameplay he sounds completely different. He gets real gravelly and aggressive sounding from memory.
It sounds like it sounds a lot like one of the... God, I'd freaking love for us as a community to sleuth and find all the voice actors who do the 343 era Covenant creatures. Because some of them are like regulars. There's a lot of voices I remember from Halo 5 being in Halo Infinite. But yeah, his boss... when he's like running around and actually fighting you, it sounds like a completely different voice actor.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe they had him do some lines for like generic elites in the game, and then they just used those, like copy and pasted them over.
Well, he says stuff specifically about that are
right.
Chaklocky. Like he says things about like, I will open you up and find your secrets. Let me show you what this tower is capable of. You know, he says all that stuff.
Ugh, brother, that sounds gross. I don't want you to open me up. No thanks.
Here's a fun little fact about Chaklock. Talking to some of the folks that were like really up there in the campaign's development, Chaklock's iconic opening cutscene where he does that like magnificent twirl and like lands, you know, and announces that this is his tower and you are welcome to it. That cutscene was done really fast, and it wasn't originally the plan. The original plan was that the room that you're supposed to go into was just completely like open, and you go in there and all the lights shut off, and then you can just like hear the tap 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 of the feet in the darkness, and like him like rambling about how he's gonna like open you up and torture like a serial killer.
Whoa.
And one of the campaign leads, it you know, like, you got the gameplay guys where they are designing this really fun, tense sequence, and then they come in on a Monday, and there's now this cutscene. Like, you know, a little bit like maybe that's not what they wanted, but I think that it works for the best because Chaklock's entrance is so damn iconic.
It is, and I think they kind of do that again later when you face off with the Blade Master. In the House of Reckoning, and they turn all the lights off and stuff. That is probably, I think, one of my favorite moments in Infinite's campaign is like stepping into that room. Like you can clearly tell that you are going into a shit situation because you can see it from the outside.
It's a trap.
Yeah, you can tell it's a trap.
But you've got to go in.
Yeah, but you got to go in, and Chief, you know, I just imagine Chief being like, fuck it, we ball, goes in, and like, you know, whoever walks out of here is the best and the last man standing. And the way it's set up with like the little holographic puck of the pilot on the ground and stuff, and how like he's you can hear him on different ends of your headset taunting you and stuff. That was really cool.
Yeah.
So to do that a second time, it might not have been as much of a novel concept.
And it's cool that like the Blade Master at that point, you know, they start the game with like the pilot. He has like that puck that he's using to like keep himself sane after so many months lost in space. And then the Blade Master, as part of the torture, it's almost like he found something that he could use to further torture. Like the fact he left it out for Chief and he's reciting it word for word to the Chief in like a mocking way. Like he was listening to that thing. Like he thinks it's funny that the pilot had this like little family recording.
Yeah.
It makes it more unsettling that he's like fucked it up and it's like sounds all distorted and he's like mocking it and stuff.
Yeah, it's a pretty effective scene, actually. I should probably go back and replay that, because I haven't replayed that particular section of Infinite's campaign in a while, but I do remember it sort of sitting with me for a little bit after. And then, like, all the atmosphere and build-up of it is just kind of gone when you shoot him, and he just sort of evaporates. Like, he disappears. He sort of turns into, like, his active camo activates or something. Yeah, he can't see his body, which is really weird.
His death animation is deliberate. You actually see him. He falls over, catches himself, starts to get up, and then cloaks. And then he's gone. So it's the implication is supposed to be that he's the only boss in Halo Infinite that gets away. So he's out there somewhere right now. Like, he's not dead. He was able to get away from you, and he's out there somewhere.
Honestly, out of all the bosses to survive, except for Chaklock, I think, that's a good choice. He's an interesting character who I think has some potential to
I would have liked
Bassus.
I would have liked Bassus to survive.
You mean the big dumb gorilla who just decides to dive bomb you? Yeah,
the one who can barely speak English. I really liked that brute. I like that he like picks you up, and before he yells in your face, and they have like the camera effect of saliva dripping off your visor. I like that he picks you up and he's like, "Ugh." Like an approving like coo or whatever. He's just like a big dumb monkey.
Yeah, you can tell that he was definitely, the poor motherfucker that like Esherim sent out to deal with, he's just a blunt instrument that gets sent in to do the job, right?
Yeah.
And he comes back to the House of Reckoning for a bucket of bananas or something.
Good work, Bassus.
Crack open Spartan. I actually reached out to both the animator and the voice actor for Bassus, and both the animator and the voice actor said that they freaking loved working on Bassus. Like, the voice actor said, like, voicing a brute was, like, some of the most fun he's had in a very long time. And then the animator said that he was very, very inspired by, like, the body language and stuff of Halo 3's brutes.
Yeah, you can tell that, definitely. Yeah.
Some of those characters in Halo Infinite are, like, really good fun.
Yeah, it's just there's a whole bunch of, like, other ones that just, you can't remember the name of them all at all. It's just, random.
That Harbinger's a cool design that I think could have, like, I think we've talked in the past about how Joe Staten was very, like, he really liked humor and treating Halo's world more like a cartoon, kind of. I mean, not like Bugs Bunny slapstick, but he didn't take Halo so damn seriously. Like, the engineer being a main character in Halo 3 ODST, that's a very silly character. I feel like Joe Staten could have made the Harbinger a lot more charismatic. Because it's like a fun design, like a squid alien with a crown that's like floating around on a jetpack.
Yeah, I got the impression that, like, it's a design that is a little bit comical in terms of the proportions and stuff, but they play it so seriously.
Yeah, she's like the Didact again. Like, she's like a frowny face.
Yeah, and it's just kind of ridiculous. She makes funny noises when you hit her in the boss fight, too, so it's just like, I can't take it seriously.
And she does do, like, an evil laugh, but it sounds like a serious evil laugh. And I guess she like literally like a ha 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 ha. You can't stop us. I'm like, man, if this character was a bit more like, why was it not destroyed with the rest of their fleet? Like, just making the villains funnier.
Yeah, a bit more over the top.
Just dial. Take that dial and crank it up, man. Like, there's soul in there. You just got to bring it out. Don't play it so safe.
I think it was also just an issue of that the character of the Harbinger herself is just a little bit... I'm trying to think of a word other than... Well, I mean, of course she's mysterious, but the whole thing around the Endless and stuff, and 343 trying to layer in all this extra depth to their race and whatever, I think just kind of confuses people a bit, and it gets them to think about all these kinds of weird unrelated things. Like, for example, there's a couple of audio logs in Infinite where the Harbinger is like interrogating a Spartan or something, and she uses some quotes from the Gravemind in Halo 2 or 3.
The scientist that opened up her Silax.
Yeah. And she says something about, I shall talk and you shall listen or whatever. And I think she quotes... she has another Gravemind quote in one of the other audio logs as well, I think. And it's just like, it just kind of... I don't know, it muddies the waters a little bit, and in terms of what you're going in to expect about this character, and like what they're supposed to be. And I can completely appreciate wanting to set up a mystery and stuff. But it's just, I don't know. It feels even worse now that it seems as though that particular path for Halo's story going forward might not eventuate to anything at all.
Or at least not for a while.
Yeah, it just puts a bit of a sour taste in my mouth because it seems like they were setting up a mystery that might not amount to anything, and that just makes me look at the character with slightly more cynicism than I suppose I might have when I was first playing the game through.
Yeah, so, like, on the topic of, like, the Harbinger quoting the Gravemind, I feel like it's in the similar vein to, like, Chief saying, I need a weapon. It's our duty as soldiers to protect, like, villains are quoting villain things, heroes are quoting hero things. It's just, like, referencing past lines, because I know, like, as far as... In 2018, I got a chance to speak to a writer, and he wouldn't tell me anything, which is good for him. But he said that they were planning something because Halo had an issue of, like, all of its lore was already explored, like, in exhaustive detail. There were no more mysteries left in the Halo universe. And they wanted to introduce something that did not have ties to previous lore so that everyone was in the same boat of being like, what are these things? And that was the Endless, and as far as the Endless are concerned, it's just mysterious race that survived the firings of the Halo ring. And I can't imagine that they'd then walk back that original concept by being like, and they're actually secretly the precursors, which are related to the Gravemind and the Forerunner, Warrior Servant, Mantle of Response, and start...
Yeah.
Like, here we go again!
Yeah. I think that it's weird, though, because it's like I can definitely see that was the approach they wanted to take. But then they also, they drop lines like that and then also have, like, the big Reclaimer symbol on her forehead as well.
Does she have the Reclaimer symbol?
Yeah, on her armor. I'm pretty sure there's a Reclaimer symbol somewhere on it. Where is it? I'm gonna...
It looks sort of like it.
Yeah. It's almost too specific. But, like, looking at the concept art for her, it doesn't look like that's a particularly big point.
I found a clean image of her. It's not the Reclaimer symbol, but it definitely looks like one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if that's, like, just visual symmetry, like design motifs reoccurring within Halo, but I know it's close enough that I know why people think it's the Reclaimer symbol.
Yeah, for sure. It's led a couple of people astray, I think, myself included. But yeah, just very, very interesting sort of choice of design there, I will say. Definitely not going to get people confused at all.
Yeah. Well, how do you even, like, design, I guess, a character, a new character in Halo? Because it seems like some of the artists even who worked on the Halo Encyclopedia, they talked about, there's, like, that new shark race that was introduced exclusively in the Halo Encyclopedia that we've never seen before. Hey, do you know who I'm talking about?
Were they the ones that also, like, appeared in Nightfall for a little bit? No, different? Okay.
Oh, no, not those stupid freaking things. I hate those. The guys...
Yeah, the Star Trek rejects, yeah.
Yonhet or whatever.
Yeah, those guys, yeah.
Freaking hate those guys. That does not... Like, okay, I think Halo should have the freedom to be as creative as it wants, but those guys, like, I'm sorry, Halo is not a universe where it has aliens that look like people in masks.
Yeah, it was very much a budget kind of thing, I think. Yeah.
But in the Halo Encyclopedia, they introduced a new species to the Halo universe. They called them... They have, like, some, like, weird lore name that I can't remember off the top of my head. But the chapter about them were called Sirens, so I just call them Sirens. They look like elite sharks. Like, the bipedal design of an elite, but, like, the head looks kind of like a hammerhead shark or something.
Okay.
And they've got like they look like water people, you know, like they look like they're designed for diving and stuff. They've got like fishing spears that have like Forerunner tech wrapped onto it with like leather straps and stuff. And apparently the lore for them is that their planet was kind of there's a massive Forerunner city that just surrounds the surface of their planet. But then at some point, I don't know, like water happened. And so it's a gigantic underwater Forerunner city, their planet. And so this species, they dive into the depths looking for treasure. And that treasure they use for armor, weapons, like technology and stuff. They're pretty cool looking. But the thing about them is they look like elites with a shark head. Like they've got the bipedal design, the 2 fingers and then a thumb or 2 thumbs or whatever. And so it does seem like Halo is congregating around this very specific silhouette for its alien creatures.
Yeah, I think you could even argue that the Harbinger is a bit that way too, with like the different mandibles and stuff.
Mandible
they
things.
Are a bit, yeah.
And some of the concept art for the Harbinger is like pretty out there, if you've ever seen it.
Oh yeah. It's very some of those earlier concept designs looked as though they were very much inspired by what is it, the Svet from Marathon, like these big kind of creatures in the long cloaks and stuff that kind of float around.
The
very simple kind of silhouettes and stuff.
The concept artist that did that specific, it was one of the final concepts for the Harbinger. He said it was intentional. He wanted to see as close as he could get to the Marathon aliens.
Yeah, I think that's a really cool design, though. Personally, it's just there's something about it that, it's a little bit like, what's the name of that big Sentinel from the cut one from like
the Guardian.
The Guardian Forest Sentinel. The shape is a bit kind of similar to that, in some respects. It's a cool look, and that one is just all kinds of fucked up. That's my sleep paralysis demon.
The one that I just shared with him is it's some of the earlier, like they experimented. Basically, it was like aquatic aliens, something you've never seen before in a Halo game, and it is very strange looking. It looks like a starfish thing. I don't even know how I would describe it, to be honest.
Yeah, it's kind of got like all these different sort of tentacles that come out the bottom of it. That it's like there's an organic creature in there that these other metal parts have sort of bonded onto. Or they almost look like they're grown out of it. Yeah. Kind of like an exo. Endoskeleton. Endo. I forget which one's which. And these little floaty bits too. That reminds me of the Halo 4 and 5 Forerunner aesthetic a little bit, but. Yeah, they're creepy looking. Ugh.
Yeah, it's some of the
see that.
It's like some of the like super creative stuff that they were originally exploring, and the balance when you're doing concept art is finding something that looks cool, has a strong silhouette, and can actually be rendered in 3D without causing like a headache for animators, modelers, texture artists. Because some cool concept art that people will like share around online in the Halo community, they're like, why didn't they ever do this? It's freaking awesome. And it's so abstract, so damn abstract, that the only reason it looks cool is because you're seeing a drawing of it.
Yeah, I think that judging from some of these concept art pieces, they were really just throwing whatever they could at the wall and see like what was going to stick, because there's no real it doesn't seem like there's a lot of consistency between all of them. It's just, okay, let's come up with a cool creature design and just see what happens.
Yeah, one of them like involved like the Harbinger having like 2 forms it could switch between. One of them almost looked like its bottom half was like a table, like it had 4 legs and this really flat surface like stomach, and then a spine that would stretch up into the torso, and it like didn't have arms, it just had 1 claw on its chest, like just really weird. And then it would like morph into something that is more bipedal, like just really odd. experimental abstract stuff before they began to kind of zero in on like, okay, we've got to, is it going to have 100 legs or 2 legs?
Yeah. And there's also this one here where it looks like it kind of like splits itself open in some weird kind of way. Like it shrouds itself and then opens up to reveal like, I don't know, something on the inside. Really weird. Like
it's like a starfish.
Yeah, starfish. I guess they really went in on the whole aquatic thing there, but
and you can see it in the final design that the aquatic stuff stuck. Like the Harbinger has a squid beak.
Yeah, very weird designs.
And even the final design for the Harbinger, if you ever look at like her idle animations, she looks like a squid the way she's constantly flowing her limbs, and her dress looks like extra tentacles that are waving about.
And yeah. Now that you mention that, I can.
Yeah,
I can
her head,
see that.
her head looks like the head of a squid. Like a lot of people brought up the Doom thing. What was it? The angel thing in Doom.
Yeah. I know the ones you're talking about. The Khan Makers, is that what they're called?
Yeah, the Khan Maker. Like people said it was a ripoff of the Khan Maker, but the truth is, like this Harbinger creature was. The design was locked in long before Doom Eternal was even revealed to the public, so this is a design they landed on, and I think what they were trying to go for was making it look like a humanoid squid creature.
Yeah, and the thing as well is that, across video game development and stuff, and just like, art in general, it's not uncommon for, I guess you could say, people get like the same kind of idea at the same time. There's all these kind of stories about how similar movies come out at similar points in time for some reason, and there's like no communication between the production houses or the publishers that made them. It's just like, oh, you made Olympus Rising or whatever it was called, and we made White House Down at the same year, coincidentally. Let's just fucking release them anyway. It just happens. It's just one of those weird creative things that happens. And speaking from my own experience, there was a YouTube video I was working on for months, and then someone else just decided to do pretty much the exact same thing. So it happens. It's weird. It's like ideas kind of flow between different people and at different times. It's
almost like certain artistic design trends are taught in art classes that artists take and then go on to use those lessons when designing their games.
Yes, very much
Such
so.
as an alien leader of some kind should have a crest-like thing because it looks like a crown. It's
funny
just,
how that works out.
Yeah, it's just art theory. Like, it gets taught in schools, artists then take it and they bring it into the game industry, and surprise, surprise, you have a lot of artists that come to the same conclusion about how their characters should look.
Yeah. No, that's definitely a more technical way of describing it than I did. It probably makes a lot more sense than ideas floating between people. That's a bit Lynchian in terms of
that definitely. The idea of like dreams floating between people as they sleep. Isn't that like a thing that did definitely happen in Twin Peaks or something?
Yeah, probably.
I'm envisioning like a bubble with a person's face floating out of a window and into somebody else's window.
Yeah, that might have happened in season 3 when they brought it back. That's a very David Lynch thing to do.
David Lynch would have done some cool stuff with Halo.
Oh God, don't even get me started on that. That would have been yeah, I would love to have seen his because he was a painter as well and an artist. I would have loved to have seen what he could have done as like a concept for a new alien race in the series. That would have been really cool.
He wouldn't have done it though. Like we should clarify there was never going to be a David Lynch Halo game or anything. He after Dune, he was like the man who was finally able to get Dune onto the big screens, and it was like a historic failure before the successful Dune series that's going on now. And he, after that Dune movie came out, he pretty much disowned it and said that he sold it out to Hollywood and swore to like never do something like that again.
Yeah, I mean that's look, yeah, his Dune movie wasn't particularly good, so I don't blame him, but I think he I know that he very much didn't want to be involved in the Hollywood side of things ever again, but as someone who was very experimental and liked to just mess around and do all kinds of crazy stuff, I think it would have been interesting to see what he would have done if he was given the reins to like work on a video game in some kind of directorial capacity, to try a different medium, basically. It's just unfortunate we'll never get that, but
rest
really
in
talented
peace.
guy.
He passed away.
Yes, he did indeed, earlier this year.
Which was like shocking to read about, but this isn't the David Lynch podcast.
No, it's not. Yeah, we're here to talk about warthogs and radios.
I did not hear you because your microphone cut out because of
Sorry.
Discord. So could you please repeat that?
I was saying that we're here to talk about warthogs and radios.
Yes,
Hell
exactly.
yeah.
Warthogs and radio parts. I don't know what the creature and radios have to do with each other, but here we are.
Here we are, exactly.
That was like a pretty awesome tangent, actually. Like, as far as tangents go, that was the good stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, the previous tangent that we went on, like, nothing interesting really was said. It was just like a bunch of complaining. Like, there wasn't really anything insightful.
Yeah, no, I think as Halo fans, we do tend to fall into that bucket a little bit sometimes. There's a lot to complain about.
We're a miserable, miserable bunch.
Hey, you don't talk shit about Halo, all right? The only people who talk more shit about Halo are Halo fans, okay?
Yeah, nobody hates Halo as much as us.
Yeah, only we can do that, all right? That's not your thing. Only we can do that.
I'm trying to... We did have some questions that we could go over. Like, we're hitting, it looks like, about 1 hour 30. Should we keep going for maybe another 30 minutes, answer some questions?
Yeah, well, I think there was two questions that we had from last episode, and we should also probably say, feel free to ask away. All right, folks. If you have questions, leave them in the comments section for this video as well.
Ask us questions and also recommend video topics, because sometimes there is a lot of Halo news to talk about.
And
I don't even think we talked about Blue Team.
No, not really. But then again, I mean, what is there to talk about? New operation, yay! Anyway.
I'm not buying the cosmetics. I like classic firefight. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's good. It's good. The end. Good update.
That's it.
Better than nothing. I'm still playing the game.
Anyway, so question number 1 comes from Zachworth77. This is going to be an interesting one. If you had complete creative freedom, how would you make the perfect Halo game? What would you do with the soundtrack, progression, art style, game modes, customization, weapons, sandbox, etc.? This is a big boy. This is a chungus question.
This is a huge man.
Yeah.
Of a question. A huge lad of a question.
Hungalunga mogungus of a question.
That was impressive. Did you just improv that?
No. It's from a meme. But
gotcha.
it's big.
Okay.
Big.
It means big. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
That's a word I understand.
Yes.
That's we had like a wild on the cut. The cutting room floor, we had a pretty wild not abstract, no, it was the opposite. It was very simple and focused flood horror game pitch.
Yeah, which...
Do we want to do that again, or do we want to come up with a new idea?
Well, I'd be interested in knowing what your idea for a perfect Halo game is. Because again, we can go into the whole thing of just do what Halo 3 and Reach did. You know, just do that.
What was the bit that we did last time in the cut? I like to put the Warthog run from Halo 3.
And make it 20 times longer, and then get Marty O'Donnell back to do the music, and get Joe Staten. And,
Joe Staten write the story.
Yeah, and put them all in a blender and mix
theater
it up.
mode and campaign and reach customization. Playable elites are back.
Playable brutes.
Playable brutes too. Plasma rifles in the game too. Like it's just like all the
dual wielding.
Yeah, dual wielding is returned. Like it's like all the super easy answers that like every single Halo fan has given ad nauseum for the last decade and a half.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, just put it in a blender. There you go. Perfect Halo game.
I'm thinking so. It's obviously like the question is what would be your dream Halo game? What I'm thinking is would I have permission to maybe add a restriction to this question?
Okay. All right.
So the rule is that it does need to make money.
Right.
Like
okay. There's that factor.
Yeah. It does need to make money, and somebody does need to like sign off on it. So it's not just like you're now in charge and anything you say goes. Like you do have to pitch it to people who have money and get it greenlit, and it has to profit or I'm going to lose my job.
Yeah, the stakes are on now, aren't they? It's pressure. Woo.
So I'm thinking, I'll bounce this off you. Would it be smart to do a classic style Halo game? Because I don't know if it would.
Honestly. But I think it would. I think it would be profitable to do a classic style. Yeah, no, I think that we have gotten... Look, we're coming up to this point now with first-person shooters where we have hit peak FPS. Like, the whole movement shooter trend that I think kind of set off with games like, Apex Legends and to a lesser extent, some of the new Call of Duty games have kind of hit their peak now. Especially with games like Black Ops 6, where you can sprint in every direction and dolphin dive in every direction and slide in every direction and all this shit. It's just become too much. And I think that people, on the whole, are maybe looking for a gameplay style that is a bit more simple. And there needs to be a bit more variety in terms of the different FPS games that are out there too, because everyone's doing sprint, slide, and clambing these days. Like, there needs to be a bit of variety. So I think a classic movement Halo game could work.
Okay.
It might be a bit of a risk, but I think there's room for it, and it would be pretty easy to cash in on the nostalgia that people have for those older games too. Like, I think one of the first videos I remember seeing of that gameplay reveal, the Craig gameplay reveal of Halo Infinite, it was someone's reaction where Chief steps out of the Pelican and he's just screaming to himself.
I think I know the video you're talking about.
Don't run, you bastard, walk! Don't run, you bastard, walk! And he starts sprinting to the Warthog and he just freaks out. He just crashes out completely. He just screams to himself. It's like Darth Vader when he comes out of the restraints. No!
Oh my god, I remember that video. It's like, RB to reload! It's recon! He's default controls! I remember that video. That was a good video.
Yeah, it's it sounds cringe, but genuinely I think that there is enough people who would be interested in wanting to give it a go. For sure.
I think that there is enough people to where it could be an idea to pursue, but I don't know if it would be enough people to get the kind of player numbers. Well, I guess it depends on how big our team is. Like, what are we going to have a campaign? Or are we just doing... I say for the sake of simplicity, let's just do multiplayer stuff.
Okay, cool. Crack on with multiplayer.
Okay, awesome. So our team probably won't need to be as big. Because we don't have to worry about a campaign.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, I do think Classic could be an idea.
Okay. All right. You're cooking.
Okay. What? Oh my gosh, I don't know where to start. Do we start with monetization? How do we even make goddamn money off of this stupid thing? Or do we
rip
talk
the Band-Aid off?
Okay, monetization, how are we going to do this? I vote no on the free-to-play model.
Yeah, I'm very much against the free-to-play model as well. I think if it's just multiplayer only, chuck a Helldivers and make it like $40 or something, or however much that game costed.
Agreed. For battle passes, I don't know if I'd want to go the battle pass route.
Okay, but what's the alternative though?
Okay, my alternative is, this is something that I've been thinking about for a while, because I'm so tired of like battle passes. I'm so tired of like the tree that you climb through and then you get, everything, and there's like the ultimate reward at the end of it and stuff. What I want is like a tour of duty or something. Like, basically think of when you first bought Halo Reach or you first bought Halo 4, and you've got this entire progression system, like all of these things to unlock, and it feels not like, you're just going through the motions like a battle pass. Like, I'm at tier 1, I'm now at tier 2. Like, it's a proper ass progression system. I'd want that. Like, rather than selling battle passes, we are selling progression systems.
Ooh, okay. All right. When you word it like that, my ears perked up a little bit.
Okay,
I was like,
okay.
Ooh,
okay, that cooked
know.
a little bit? Wait, cooked a little bit or no?
I don't... You see, that is so easy for people to run off and go like, 343 are charging people to progress in Halo. So it's got to be done in a way that's like... Yeah, that's a tricky one. That's a tricky one. Okay.
Maybe I should talk more?
Go. Keep spitballing here.
Okay, because what I'm thinking is, like, with a battle pass, you can see everything that you're gonna get, and it's all lined up for you, like, in order, and you can see how far away you are from the thing that you really want. What I'm thinking about is, for a progression system, your $40, you would buy a game with a progression system. Like, think of like the grind of Reach. That's what you're getting. It will take a while. You're not going to be playing this, for like 50 hours and then you've got everything. Like, you're going to be kind of chipping away at it for a really long time, getting cool stuff. But the idea is that each progression system or tour of duty or whatever you want to call it, it has a different theme and a different way to unlock stuff. So it's not like the same, just like, I'm thinking at launch, you can probably have a typical battle, like, not battle pass, but a typical progression system type thing. Like, you get to Spartan rank 3, you get these shoulder pads or whatever. Get to 5, you get a visor. But for the first, like, progression system purchase or whatever, or that we drop, it's completely using the Reach system of, like, you play matches, earn credits, you can shop for what armor you want in this specific progression system. Right. And then for the next one, maybe it's a little bit more specific. It's like catered to this playlist, and you have to get challenges done to get with these specific gear and weapons equipped, or so you feel more like an operator or something. Like, each one provides a different kind of progression system, so it doesn't just feel like you're doing the same thing over and over again.
Okay, so it's almost like I think the closest thing I could point to was Halo 4, where you had those different like operator things, like wet work,
the commendation things.
There was like different, and they almost gave you like different perks and stuff to use in your loadout. But if there was maybe instead of just playing the game to level up, there was like more specific challenges or something in mind to get through those different tiers almost. Okay, all right. I can kind of see what you're getting at here. Okay.
That's my initial pitch. The idea, I think, can be workshopped into something that's less rough, and maybe a little bit more focused, a little bit more interesting and engaging. But that's my initial idea, is like kind of selling progression paths, progression systems that each cater to like different fantasies, whether it's earning Spartan bucks, credits and stuff, or just leveling up, or doing specific challenges, and like, all of the cosmetics in that would be themed around what the progression loop is. So if you buy like the ODST one, I try to think, how would an ODST progression system work? What would it feel like? How would you feel like you are a behind enemy lines ODST versus like just a generic like UNSC Spartan running around?
Yeah, I think there is the risk that if you kind of force people to do certain types of challenges and play the game a certain way, that it might be a bit rough. But if the challenges are loose enough, they're not like how Halo Infinite launched, for example, where it's like, get 20 kills with the plasma pistol. Fuck off. No, I'm not doing that, dickhead.
Maybe they could be designed around like the different players. Like if you're an ODST fan, you're playing Firefight a lot, make this progression system dedicated to those Firefight players.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, I can see that.
Or do you think that's locking people too much into a...
I think it'd be good if there was like a mix of challenges. So maybe some are playlist centric, like Firefight, for example, but then on the whole you have some more general kind of broad-reaching challenges or progression things that encompass the whole game as opposed to just one playlist.
Okay, so you play the game to progress, but if you want to max it out, that's where you specialize in what that progression system, Tour of Duty, I'll call it, just that Tour of Duty is designed around.
Yeah, it's something roughly in that vein, yeah.
Okay, what do you think of that as an idea? Do you think that's too convoluted?
I think it'd definitely set itself apart from the rest of the live service slop that we have to deal with on a regular basis. And I think that would probably get people interested. There is, of course, there is always the risk that people do find it too complicated, or that it just ends up turning into like another battle pass, but there's just specific challenges that you have to do in order to progress through it instead of playing the game normally, like a lot of other battle passes do. Mm-hmm. So that's a fine line to kind of walk. But I do like the idea of them being centered around a particular theme or aspect of the Halo universe. And once you start...
Yeah, go ahead.
So I was just going to say, like, once you start that ball rolling and you get like an ODST-themed Tour of Duty, you can then move on to something else, like an Elite-themed Tour of Duty, or like certain characters in the game, like an Arbiter-themed Tour of Duty. Get armor that looks like his or something, and some other, loosely related cosmetics and stuff. That could be really interesting, I think.
Okay. Yeah. And, on the topic of, like, not wanting to pigeonhole people into a very specific way of playing, it was going to kind of factor into how I would approach the game, which would be less of a competitive mindset and more of a communal mindset. So I'm thinking, like, our game is gonna have server browsers, whether they're for, like, I don't think they're gonna replace matchmaking, and I do think, like, for the sake of balancing, you definitely don't want all progression to be achievable in the server browser, but I do think people will have the ability to create their own servers and host them, whether they're like, some rental system where you can pay a monthly fee and you can create the playlist. And it's your playlist, it's got your name on it, people can search it up in the server browser and they can hop in and play it. And the way that, the servers are funded is via a subscription from you. So, like, if community members like us, if you want to make a Larden Halo classic playlist that your community, that your community can play, you can select the maps, the modes, and everything, and then you pay a monthly fee, and, like, the studio will host it for you. And it's always there. You can search it up and join matches in it.
Yeah, I think that the whole server browser thing is something that Halo has definitely slept on, because we're halfway there with the customs browser, but having it be for everything, including match-made game modes and stuff that you can use to level up or whatever, I think that that's only a good thing. So yeah, I'm definitely all for that.
And further than that, what I'm also thinking is, like, so we are going to have like ranked stuff because, you know, contrary to the like competitive players suck, like ranked was never Halo was for everybody. That's what made Bungie Halo really, really freaking awesome, is that everything was there. You had your casuals, you had your competitive, you had your wacky custom game, like everybody was included. Halo will only get worse if it only caters to casual or whatever, you know? So I'd want to include competitive ranked stuff. I'd want to include casual stuff. I'm thinking like every part of the community we'd probably want to focus on. So from the ground up, the Sandbox, rather than thinking about it as like, okay, how can we make this weapon viable? How can we make this weapon good in like most situations? I'm thinking of designing a weapon sandbox where some weapons are going to birth new custom games of their own. So like a problem that I have with the Halo Infinite Gravity Hammer, as an example, I actually don't like it. I don't think it's very good. It's great.
Neither. I hate it.
It's great. I should clarify, okay? I don't think it's very good because it's great. It's great at killing. It's great at maiming people and just like absolutely smashing, destroying vehicles and stuff. What it's not good at is being a griffball gravity hammer.
Yeah, there's like no physics attached to it at all.
There's no physics. Yeah. It's way too lethal, and it's just a giant melee weapon. Like it's just an energy sword that has a wind up now. It's just a lethal melee weapon versus a device that created a whole custom game due to its unique gravity mechanics. Sure, it wasn't the best at killing people, but that versus it having made Griffball what it is, like, so that's the kind of approach I take with the Sandbox. So, you know, people can say like, oh, the gravity hammer sucks in this game. It's like, good for you. It's not designed for Slayer. This gravity hammer was made for the Griffball community, and I want it to be the best gravity hammer for Griffballs that is possible. You can maybe find it in Slayer type modes. It's probably not going to be that good because it was designed for Griffball, but it is what it is. And that's the approach that I'd have to the Sandbox. Like the battle rifle, for example, we'd design it into the perfect starter weapon for competitive games. So it would be useful at all ranges. It would be the main thing that drives the combat loop. The assault rifle, I'd want it to be focused on the ultimate social starter weapon. Something that encourages casual, friendly play, like low stakes, just everyone's out here having fun. Shotgun, I'd want to make into the ultimate infection weapon. You know, and so on and so on. That's the kind of sandbox I designed for this game. So from that, you can imagine I'm thinking of like all these different communities and ways to play.
It's interesting how I've never really considered this so much before outside of just like the Griffball argument. But like, yeah, how much these different subsets of Halo's community flock around a particular weapon.
Yeah.
Competitive being tied to the battle rifle, for example, and more casual starters, you know, I guess being used to the assault rifle. The important thing about the assault rifle is not making it too good. Like, you actually have to have incentive to want to drop it and pick up a new weapon and use something else, because in Infinite, that is not the case. I will use the assault rifle the whole fucking game if they let me.
The Infinite assault rifle is so damn good that there's... like, I'm not going to pick up a bandit if I've got the assault rifle.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. But no, you make a very good point there. I think that there's also room to potentially introduce some more physics-based elements back into the game as well, because the gravity hammer is obviously the big one. But I'm also thinking about weapons like the brute shot and the concussion rifle.
Oh, yeah.
I can remember those used to be like the go-to weapon for game modes like Fat Kid and Halo Reach to like push objects out of the way. The shotgun is another good one too. The fear of loading up those shells one at a time and sometimes not keeping track of your reloads when they all start running after you. That's peak Halo gameplay.
I'm thinking the one-shot kill range for the shotgun. My shotgun is going to be the exact same range that a sword can lunge. that way there. Okay, maybe a little bit further than that, because that could probably get very annoying very fast. But like that's what I'm thinking about, is what would drive like the most compelling gameplay loop for each community, rather than what is the most viable in capture the flag. Everything needs to be viable to an extent. Like, it's okay if some stuff just sucks ass in certain modes. It's okay. It wasn't designed for that mode.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's where certain, like, depending on the game mode, certain weapons can have a certain niche. You might not always use the plasma pistol in 4v4 Slayer, not necessarily because it's bad. I mean, you can use it in, paired with a pistol or a battle rifle to quickly take down some shields, but where it really shines is in big team battle.
Yep.
It's great at EMPing vehicles. It's probably a little bit of a slept-on weapon. It doesn't maybe spawn very often, but if you find one, you've got a little pocket rocket that's ready to go. Stuff like that.
Yeah. And it's okay if you see it in 4v4 Slayer. Like, it isn't there because it's great and you should totally pick it up. It's just there because it's like, I don't know, just put a plasma pistol there. Something unexpected will happen one day.
Yeah. That's a good way of looking at it. Okay, I'm on board with this, just purely on the basis of, like, there's a bigger emphasis on physics and making every weapon not feel like it has to be super duper optimized at killing people, which, when Halo does that, I'm not a big fan of it. So, yeah, this is piqued my interest.
Okay, all right. And so from there, we can then map out, like, we could probably spend a whole podcast doing it, but we'd map out an extensive sandbox of maybe 30 weapons.
Okay.
Each would be kind of designed, maybe some multiples would be designed for specific modes. Maybe one would be designed for another. But that's the general idea of, before we even talk about what modes would be included, we figure out what the sandbox would be. And then from there, it'd be like, okay, well, we designed this wacky thing. What is going to be the mode for it? And then we start branching out from there and talking about what modes would be included in the game. And from the server browser to the matchmaking system and wanting to support competitive and like all these different various things. We'd also want to have a clan system of some kind, like an in-game clan system, so people can find each other really easily.
See, the whole thing is coming back around full circle. We set it up at the start of the episode and now we're coming back to it.
Yeah.
That was planned. That was intentional.
That was totally intentional.
Yeah, we definitely meant to do that. But absolutely, social features, 100%. Just smash them in there, as many as physically possible.
Like, it probably, I don't know, it couldn't be that hard.
I mean, you'd hope not.
It could not be that hard, he says, with no game development knowledge. Or team leading skills.
I say from my armchair game development standpoint over here,
Yeah, we just have a clan system.
Just, throw it in there.
Just throw it in there.
Yeah.
Throw in some firefight. Like, how hard could it be? Come on, lazy
proximity
developers.
Chat. I fucking love proximity chat back. I think, like, that's something that a lot of games are doing nowadays, is using prox chat. I'd love to see that come back.
So, this is something we both... Thank you for letting me have that opportunity. This is something we should both work on now, is for this Ultimate Classic game, then, what is going to be like a really out there chill, like a digital Chuck E. Cheese mode? We've got the Halo modes, all the ones you love, Firefight, Slayer, Infection, like all the usuals. What is going to be like our big draw Chuck E. Cheese mode, though?
Ooh, okay. I feel like if you want to get people talking, and you want to be able to have those kind of discussions with other people and get people sort of wanting to connect with one another, to then go off and have those more kind of casual experiences in the customs browser and whatnot. I think that there should be a pretty big emphasis on big team battle, or like some kind of, not necessarily what Infinite's done, but like an even bigger team battle kind of game mode.
Bigger team battle.
I'm thinking almost like a ground war from Modern Warfare kind of deal, or something similar where it's like big play spaces. Maybe it's like 32v32 or something, and it's just, you know, people are allowed to do whatever with the fucking sandbox. Like,
let's pretend that we're also using the Unreal Engine, like, so we could possibly have a couple hundred players per server.
Sheesh. Damn. I still think that like a bigger team battle kind of mode or something, just because try and picture, you know, capture the flag where it's like 50v50, right? Just pure unadulterated chaos. Like, it'd just be fucking stupid, but it'd be hilarious at the same time. I think something like that where you could get these little interactions of like, you know, maybe someone from blue team is hiding in a back corner of red team's base and he's like mouthing off and like talking shit to them, and everyone in the base is trying to find where this guy is, right? Like stuff like that. Where
that would be pretty good. That would be pretty awesome.
It's like Red versus Blue, the TV show, but if it was on a much bigger scale.
Red Army versus Blue Army.
Yeah, and it's like this tribalism kind of sets in where people get like all pumped up and stuff. Yeah, just stupid shit like that.
Screw the Blues. I hate the Blues so much.
yeah, stuff like that I think would just be hilarious to see unfold in a big scale environment.
Would we do like a planet? Would we do a planet side style? Like,
maybe,
consistent capture the bases type of thing where like you still get XP even if you leave the match because the matches are going to last for weeks.
I think that could be an interesting event to do almost. Like, it's not something that's always in the game, but it's something that's maybe done like every couple of weeks or so, and it's like a big rallying cry to the community to be like, all right, for the next 5 days, we're just going to have this one server that you can jump in and out of whenever that is going to be like, yeah, just the constant big team battle or constant capture the flag 50v50. And people can like, I don't know, like sign up to be part of a particular team to be like the first wave of soldiers that go in, or it's like based on whoever just gets in first. Okay. And then it runs for 5 days. Of course, you get XP and whatever from it, and people can tag in and out. But
would there be AI?
Oh, maybe.
Like Covenant in between the bases and the no man's lands.
Yeah. And the thing that I want to make sure happens is that when you join the game and you end up on red team or blue team, no matter how many times you rejoin, you are going to be on that same team that you started with.
Okay.
Really drill home the tribalism of you are a blue team soldier. This is your clan. These are your people. You will defend them with everything you have.
You will fight for them. You will die for them.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay, that's I can get behind that. Okay, yeah. I like that a lot. I like you encouraging the tribalism.
Yeah, I mean, it's not normally something that like you think of as a good thing, but in terms of like video game interactions, I just think it would be so fucking funny.
Yeah, especially if it's like around just stuff that really isn't that consequential, like the color of your like team, like blue or red.
Yeah, or like capturing a flag, you know, like it's a video game at the end of the day. Like people are going to do stupid stuff, but no one should be taking it too seriously.
I think even in meme culture that would take off. Like if the game did well, people would be making like fuck Reds, blue team all the way. No, fuck.
Exactly. That's what you might not have. I don't know if you play Grand Theft Auto Online, but there was a period where I think during COVID there was this gang war between the green, like people in green alien suits and the purple alien suits, and there was so many memes and shit about it of these green aliens would just like run up and just like go into like a street fight with all these green aliens and shit on the other side, and they'd like upload the videos onto TikTok and Instagram and YouTube and whatever, and it was blowing up for ages. I'm thinking of something like that, but in Halo almost. And for like years down the track, people can like think back to those days and, you know, reminisce on them and being like, yeah, I was part of the red team during the such and such battle of epic blood gulch proportions or whatever.
And epic blood gulch.
Yeah, Epic Blood Gulch. It's just
Blood
bigger
Valley.
Blood Gulch or something. Yeah, Blood Valley or something like that.
Yeah.
And then they can be talking to someone else who's like, oh, I was on the blue team during that campaign or whatever. And, like they might
Remember
be able
week
to...
3 when the red team got the Scorpion and they did blah, blah, blah?
Yeah, like stuff like that. Just have it be like this big, just social clusterfuck that people can tag in and out of and reminisce on, and have it be an event that happens every couple of weeks or so, and maybe eventually make it a permanent fixture to the game, or the community can do it.
Or the community could do it themselves in the custom games. Oh God, yeah, because we'd be renting our own servers for our communities.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, we could even wage war against each other. Like Laper Larden versus Late Night Gaming.
Bro,
you could be
such a bigger audience compared to me. I'd be smashed. Bro.
Well, we would have like our 100 player limit, so we'd have to get a couple of servers.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the catch
awesome.
would be that I get Mint Blitz because he's an Aussie. So yeah,
yeah. Fuck, I forgot about the time zone difference. Yeah, you'd have quick and easy access to Mint Blitz.
Yeah, but the other thing too, though, is that time zone difference, right? If there were, like, say the servers were good enough to actually support that, you could get like certain teams tagging, like just like the Clan Wars we were talking about earlier today.
Oh, yeah.
You could get certain teams of like people like tagging in and out, similar to Helldivers, where it's like me and my friends have this ongoing joke where like if a campaign against like the automatons or the bugs is looking really rough, we'll be like, oh well, we did our part, we'll just wait for the Yanks to hop on tonight and they'll fix it all up. That kind of thing, where it's like a global international
I was thinking, like, okay, it's nighttime in Australia, Mint Blitz is asleep, now's the time.
yes
Get the Banshees.
Yeah, get the Banshees, get the sniper rifle, like that kind of stuff. I just think would be hilarious.
Waking up and being like, what the fuck happened last night? Oh my God. Oh, it sucks that this is just a dream.
But it could be, it could be. If someone's listening, it could become a reality.
If anybody in the community is watching, share this around if you like our idea. It's not to boost engagement. It's to maybe,
no, definitely not.
Maybe somebody will actually like our idea.
Well, yeah. I mean, we like the idea, and that's the most
I like the
important
idea, and that's good enough.
Yeah,
Where's
that's good
the
enough
money?
for me too. Start a crowdfund.
Yeah.
Keep going.
I don't know anything about game development, but how hard could it be?
Famous last words.
All right, you greenhorns, listen up. You ever find yourself deep in enemy territory with an overturned Warthog your only cover and saying to yourself, I could really do with some backup? Well, do I have good news for you? Switch on to Warthog Radio, the UNSC's latest and greatest podcast in the known galaxy, hosted by the hardest of hardcore, Late Night Gaming. Who the hell is the other guy? Laper Larden? God damn, I'd watch out for him. These two will take you on a ride through the past, present, and future of Halo. And they sure as hell ain't flipping this hog over. They're talking lore, gameplay, development stories. Maybe you'll even hear some of your favorite content creators on the show someday.
But Sarge, what makes this podcast any different from the other chatter on the comm?
Well, let me educate you, you pasty bastards! It's got hard, with the boys answering your questions every episode. And it's got purpose, with new episodes dropping every fortnight. And no, I'm not talking about that fancy-smancy Zuma Battle Royale bullshit. So what the hell are you waiting for? An invitation from Lord Hood himself? Subscribe to the Warthog Radio YouTube channel. Heck, subscribe twice. That's an order, soldier. Subscribe to the Laper Larden YouTube channel. You wouldn't. You're way too scared.